He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio
I
audience.
appreciate it.
Of course, man. Not like I had too much on this schedule, so.
Right. I know it's kind of a bummer. Like with all, I'm sure you guys had a bunch of shows and different things. Signed up. What did you have going on?
Yeah, we had a few things in Europe going on. We had that Jaren Open Air Festival, which was kind of big. We had Outbreak Fest in England, and then we had another show. I believe it was going to be in Germany, set up for June. But I think all that got kind of either pushed back or rescheduled or canceled. So right now we're hoping that when the fall comes around, we might be able to do some stuff. But it's always just to err on the side of caution because. A second outbreak would probably be terrible.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing too, is it's like you read certain things and some people kind of, they go and they say it's not that big of a deal and other people say it's the worst thing that's ever happened. So that's, the most important thing as far as like, hopefully you and your family are all doing really well. Everybody's staying safe. So
For sure.
I'm not going to go absolutely, let's see, I cut out here.
Oh, lost you.
Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Oh, there you go. You're back.
Dear Lord, what is going on here? They call me a lo-fi horror guy for a reason. This shit is so janky. All right, we're gonna dive right into it, my man. So this is Growing on You Live. I truly appreciate it. For those just joining, Danny of Incendiary. So sick. So first off, basically the show kind of works as far as like the foundation of it is I'm gonna ask you two just generic questions. They kind of break up because I've been having different people from like the hardcore community, mostly drummers,
cool.
like yourself, and then from the horror community as well. Like my main following is the horror community, but I'm also a drummer in a hardcore band. So
sick!
I am so excited to be able to talk to you and some of the others.
Of course, man.
First off, let me ask you. Give me 3 bands that you would recommend. Just whether they're bands that you've played with, toured with, bands that you have on rotation right now. Slap me with something.
Okay. There's this band Chamber that I've been really digging lately. Real talented bunch of dudes, and they have a new record I think coming out relatively soon. They've toured with the Acacia Strain a couple of times and a couple of other up and coming bands. So if you haven't given them a listen, I definitely check them out.
You said did you say Chamber?
Chamber, yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, for sure, dude. That drummer slaps.
Yeah, he is Taylor's unbelievable drummer, man. It's like I said, everyone in that band is super talented, and I really dig a lot of the stuff they're writing.
Sick. Okay. All right. So we got Chamber. What else you got?
What else I've been listening to lately? I've been like revisiting a lot of classics and stuff. So I'm going to say for people watching that might not be familiar, definitely give a listen to Silent Majority. I've been listening to them a lot lately. Long Island local band from a while ago. It's just I don't know. I just really enjoy listening to them, and especially since the weather's getting nicer, it's good. Just like cruising around listening to music.
For sure.
And then I would say probably another thing that I like doing because like every year on the first like super nice day where you could roll down your windows, I call it Pantera Day. So I've been listening to Pantera a lot lately. So I had on Far Beyond Driven. That's usually my first nice day ritual is put on Far Beyond Driven, throw the windows down, and just drive around until the record's done. So get out there and listen to Pantera.
Like I grew up more so I guess to say, it wasn't so much at first like hardcore and punk. My thing was thrash and was metal. That's what I grew up with. My brothers constantly had that stuff playing. So like Pantera, Slayer, Exodus,
for sure,
all those types of things. So I mean, you bring up Pantera, and of course, like that's always gonna slap for sure.
Hell yeah. What was it? I think also too the other day I listened to the Pantera live album, and Phil's stage banter is just like unparalleled.
I know. I was hearing something too that they were supposed to be doing some sort of like a tour of some sort, and then with the drummer passing and Dimebag's Ben gone, so it's like I don't know if
just fill in Rex with 2 scabs. I don't know if I'd go see that. I mean, they probably find good people to fill in, but I mean, when more than half the band and like 2 of probably the more important pieces of the band, Diamond, Vinnie Paul, I don't know if it'd be close, but it'd be like watching like Pantera karaoke starring Phil.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so now next, let me ask you hypothetically. Okay, you start you started a side project, all right? And you started a side project with 4 other cats, dead or alive. Who are these people going to be in your dream?
Oh boy, wow, that's a crazy question. Um, just like any musician, like period.
And
All right. Wow. Uh, I'd probably have Vincent from Acacia Strain singing. I really like his vocals. I'd probably just do like a heavier, sludgy beatdown band.
of course,
Um, Probably what the hell's his name? That dude Josh. So I forget what his last name is, but he played in that band Glass Cloud, and he was in the most recent like Tony Danza project towards the end.
yeah,
I think yeah. Yeah. I think he's like an like unreal talented guitar player.
stupid.
Like plays like I think he played like a 9 string or like a 10 string or something like that.
Yeah.
And I probably throw Lumpy in there because Lumpy is would probably fit the bill pretty good. And I haven't been in a band with him yet, but it's like weird. We're both like Long Island musicians that have played in 100 bands, and we've never been in the same band together. So I think we're about to.
Sick. That rules. Yeah, of course. Vincent, I mean, for sure, like that band has always been one of my favorite in, whether it be the hardcore or metal, whatever you want to call it. Vincent for sure is pretty slapping.
Absolutely. I've been
The occasion
down band since like day one, pretty much. Like I was hooked the first time I heard him.
Nice. All right. So first off, give me your drum origin story. Like when you were younger, were you in band? You learned how to play? Did you read sheet music? So on.
Yeah, I was in the school band in 4th and 5th grade. I initially wanted to play the saxophone, but I was like a really small little kid, so my hands couldn't like work all the buttons on the saxophone. So they were like, and I guess they needed drummers in the school band, so like, why don't you play drums? And me and my friend Glenn, we were the last 2 people to sign up for instruments, so we both got drums by default. And I kind of just like took off with it. I got kicked out of school band in 6th grade. And then my dad was like, do you still want to play drums? And I said, yeah. So he was like, okay. My dad owns a landscaping company. So it's like, if you work on my landscaping truck over the summer, you can save up enough money to get a drum set. And at the end of the summer, I had a drum set. And then I was playing on a kit starting in between 6th and 7th grade. First band I was in, we just played cover tunes in my backyard. I think we played like 40 songs. It was like mostly Nirvana and Beatles covers. And then the first band I was in was probably like 9th grade, 10th grade. And we just did a bunch of metal covers. We had like 1 original, and we played like 10, like a bunch of like Rage, Deftones, and Pantera, Black Sabbath songs. And then like I played in a couple of I just mostly growing up between high school and first year of college, I just played in any band that was around that needed a drummer. I was like playing in like 4 or 5 bands at once just to play because I just honestly really love playing drums. So I played in a bunch of different types of bands. I played in like a couple of grind bands. I played in a couple of like pop punk bands. I played in like a couple of screamo bands, a couple of metal bands, and then but I was always into hardcore. It was always something that I try to include in like my style, no matter what I was playing. And then I just started playing in heavier bands, and I played in A Love for Enemies for a little bit. Did a full U.S. tour with them.
What?
Yeah. That's kind of where I got my I cut my teeth touring was with them. I did a full U.S. with the Day to Remember back in 2007 with them.
Oh no.
And then we did a couple of like 2-week tours with Straight from the Path early on because they're Straight from the Path from my hometown. I've known those kids since like forever. And then 2007, one of the Alfie guys was just like, "Oh, there's this band Incendiary, and their drummer left. You go talk to Dan, who was original bass player, who I knew hook by crook by this dude who I used to work with at Hot Topic." And he's just like, "Oh, go talk to Dan. He plays bass, and you could probably get in with them." And the rest is history.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
That's cool. What I know you have your sponsors and everything, but like as far as, can I ask, what was your first kit?
It was this like I think the drum company name was Track Drums. I think it was like a $500 kit, and it came with stands and cymbals. So it was a real like dollar menu drum kit, but it was enough for me to learn on. It was the closest thing. It was still wood shells. It wasn't like one of those like Sears catalog kits, Yeah. But yeah, and I saved the first cymbal that I ever had because it like kind of cracked, but I was still using it for a while. And then I framed it and gave it to my dad for his 50th birthday.
Sweet. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's awesome. What do you remember? What was the first song that you ever learned on drums?
Are You Gonna Go My Way by Lenny Kravitz. That was the first song I learned to play on the drums, and I remember before learning on the drums, I would play with like the sticks that I had left from school band, like on couch cushions and like notebooks and stuff like that. And I just sit on the floor, and I would play on the couch cushions and like pots and pans and stuff like that. And then I think my dad just saw that and he was just like, "All right, we're gonna get him a drum set," because my dad played guitar growing up.
Oh, really? Okay.
So he understood like the musician kind of end of it, and I'm super thankful for my parents for always letting me like be able to practice at the house.
For sure. Yeah, that was actually that's how I learned. Was I got a pair of drumsticks from a local music store, and I turned on a CD player and I played on my bed for probably like a year before I had a kit, and then I started playing, and I think it was Angry Chair by Alice in Chains was the first song I ever learned, you know, and it was like, it was so crazy though, because like people, you know, ask sometimes like, oh, what should I do? You know, like my kid's really interested in drums. I'm like, dude, I learned playing on a bed to like,
Seriously, I would say like, yeah, if you know, because some of your viewers might have children themselves or are looking to get into it, or you know people with kids that might be interested in getting in drums, just get them a pair of sticks and see how they take to holding them and what they do with them. You know, if it's there, it's there pretty much.
Yeah, I agree. I know that's like, it's such a crazy thing though too, because there's, you know, some people that they try like so hard, and it's not to knock them, but they're just like, dude, I just can't, like, I just don't have the rhythm. It's just not there, you know.
I think your brain is just wired a little bit differently. You know, I think it has to be.
All right, so you obviously you're the drummer in Incendiary. You also have a band called Carcosa, correct? You guys just like a 2-track EP last year.
Yeah, it was like a kind of like a preview demo version of 2 of the newer songs that we wrote, and hopefully we'll have either a 7-inch or a full length out soon.
Sick. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, like, with both of those bands, I can tell like your style of drumming with both of them. You know, like they're different. But you know, as far as listening to it, like being like, oh yeah, okay, Danny's on this. So with that said, do you have like a conscious thing going into each band where you do like you play in different ways for each project, or it comes naturally?
No, it's definitely, it's like playing 2 different characters, you know, like I wouldn't call it like acting because I'm not like pretending to be in the band, you know, but it's just like you get in a different mindset when you play in each. And I also set up my drums differently for the 2 different bands. Carcosa, I don't use a rack tom, it's just a floor tom, snare, and kick, but I use more cymbals. And I also set them up a little bit higher just because it's just more comfortable, because it's a lot faster, a lot of blast beats and stuff like that. So having like the ride cymbal up a little bit higher and tilted makes it easier to blast, and then you can just move around a lot better. And then Incendiary is more of a traditional like 4-piece kit, you know, rack tom, floor tom, snare, kick. And then 2 crashes, like a ride that I crash on. With Carcosa, I just use the ride to like ride in bell. I don't really crash on it or anything like that. So I think having the 2 different setup styles helps to kind of like get in the mindset like, oh, I'm playing in this band now, and like your muscle memory is like different, you know. So it's like, I think doing something like that kind of helps.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Along with your live setup, I guess I can say too, one thing I had noticed in one of your videos, you have 2 bottom hi-hats.
I did, yeah, for a while. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, because I'm like reading the description. It was one of your live videos, and I'm reading the description, and it says 2 bottom whatever. Like, I don't remember, there were Sabian hi-hats, and I'm like, bottom? What?
Yeah, I was using 2 bottoms for a while. What had happened was I had cracked my top hat. I had AAX stage hats, and I cracked the top one. And I used to be like, and I kind of still am, a big like eBay cymbal hunter. I would just spend hours on eBay looking for cymbals, looking for a good deal, and like just trying to like, hopefully no one else bids on it, like it's like a secret. So I found an HHX Evolution bottom hi-hat for like $30. And yeah, and like those are usually like $500 for the pair. Perfect. So I'm just like, ooh, I hope no one sees this, and I wound up winning it for like $45. So I just started using that as my top, and you get such a heavier sound but you have to put a lot more effort into getting them to really like open up musically. But it's like it was like a nice dark crisp sound, especially when you have them closed.
Yeah, it sounds huge. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's kind of one of those things where I guess I wouldn't have thought about it, but you know, I'm sitting here and I'm like wondering, I'm like, well, was that a mistake? But then I'm listening to it, I'm like, damn, that's pretty booming.
Yeah. I used two bottoms for a while, and the other thing too is like because they're thicker, you're probably not gonna break them. So there's that. But now I use 15-inch hi-hats, AA explosion hi-hats, and I like the 15s because you could still have it set up, and I feel like I'm not reaching so far over to hit them, especially with having the double kick pedal there. So it feels like everything's just like a little bit like more comfortable. And I've been trying to get more into like the ergonomics of drumming as I get older, because you know the check engine light comes on a lot more frequently now.
Right. Now, I mean, that kind of goes into my next question as far as your drum rundown, as far as like just like the breakdown of it. I know your sponsors. You have SJC,
Mm-hmm.
you have Sabian.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of like your specifics as far as like what sizes that you know that you like to use for your crashes and rides and whatnot.
Sure. I like using bigger cymbals. I don't know if it's just like it's like half aesthetics and half function. Because I like the look. It kind of looks like an alien invasion where you're using like bigger cymbals, and it kind of like brings the drums to the front a little bit. When I read the Motley Crue book, The Dirt, Tommy Lee talks about that. It's like they put you behind everyone else, behind all this wood and metal, and you kind of have to do something to let them know you're there. You know, so like I kind of like have that philosophy. So I like using bigger size drums. I have a 12-12 rack tom, which people call like a power tom size. And I still have I have a 16-16 floor tom, and I have a 24/17 kick. And then my crashes I like to keep at around 19 or 20. And I have a bunch of different cymbal variations that I use for the different bands, or if I'm going to be recording or playing live, or even playing live if it's like a fully mic stage that has like overheads and stuff versus like a smaller club date where they're just micing the kick. You know, I have a couple of different tools in the arsenal for that, but I like keeping my crashes at around 19-20. And then for a ride for Incendiary, I actually use a 22-inch crash cymbal as a ride. It's the Paragon, the Neil Peart line for Sabian.
Oh yeah.
Because I wind up crashing on my ride a lot with Incendiary, but I still needed something that you could still ride on, have a nice ping, and a decent bell that cuts, and I just roll the dice with that, and it works perfectly. So that's like one of my favorite parts of my setup is that crash cymbal as a ride.
Oh right, okay. Yeah, have I've got a 20-inch AA Sabian that actually I got it for like a stupid deal, and I times where I'll replace that with my ride because it's just so huge. Like, I hit it and it's just like, geez, it's like I feel like it is a ride, you know, basically, but it's a rock crash. So
those rock crashes are practically rides, man.
Yeah, really, it's just humongous. Now, as far as like your live kit to your studio kit, do you have anything that you differ? Do you have anything that you typically include that you wouldn't include in one or the other?
No, I pretty much try to keep the same setup live versus studio for both bands as far as the arrangements of the drums. Sometimes with recording, you just use the kit that they have there because 9 out of 10 times it's like it's already set up. The engineer has been using that kit, so it's like it's the house kit. It's a lot easier than dragging all my shit to wherever we're going and setting it up most of the time. With Carcosa, we've recorded at our practice space at like a French storage unit local, so it's a little bit easier to bring my drums to those. With Incendiary though, because we're recording at a much bigger studio, like the last one we did at Graphic Nature with Will Putney. The kit that he has there, you don't mess with that. So I had no problem using the kit he's got set up there. You know.
Right. Yeah, that dude. I mean, everything that he puts out is just how good it is.
Hitmaker, man, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
he's such a gifted guy when it comes to that, and even like with the stuff that he is writing with End and all that stuff too. Like that, they got a new record coming out too. If you haven't checked out that band, End, definitely check them out because they are really something else.
Yeah, Billy Reimer's playing drums for them, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
Another Long Island drummer, man.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell? I didn't even know that. I just recently looked at his page and he had things posted on for the new End album, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like that band's already sick, and then you have him.
Yeah. Yeah, fresh off a gig with Dillinger Escape Plan, and I think he was playing in that horror band, like the HO9909 band. I think he did a run with them for a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't
Yeah.
really know anything about that. Isn't that like a rap group or something?
I think it's like one of those like crossover mashup bands or something like that. But they played what they played. They played one of the festivals that we played in Europe when we were over there. I think it was a couple of years ago. I think it might have been Hellfest. They played one of the stages there. Yeah. So yeah, he's an unreal talented drummer. I remember seeing him in Guitar Center years ago, like 2002. He was probably a like early teenager at the time, and he was still kicking ass all over the place. It was unbelievable.
Playing paradiddles and all this crap.
He's just always been a tremendous player. Always. I like I said, even remember back then in like 2001, 2002, he was just some little kid, but he was like blowing cats out of the water. It was pretty insane to see.
I can't imagine, like, being one of the cats that works at Guitar Center, and normally you have somebody that just wants to play Freebird or like first riff, and then you have this kid like, gee, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, for sure, man. That probably turned a lot of heads.
Right. All right, so now we are like literally days away from 3-year mark on 1,000 Mile Stare being released, which is absolutely crazy. That album in particular, if I can say, is my favorite from your guys' stuff. I love all your stuff in particular. What's your favorite track from the album or track?
I like the last track that we did on the record. Because we haven't played it live yet. But I like the end of that song. I remember when we recorded it and we were writing it even. There's like a little section that comes after like the snare roll vocal kind of break. And just the feeling from that last section it's like probably one of the best drum feelings I've ever had playing the song. It just feels so good to play it. And then Front Towards Enemy, I love playing that song live. I think that's probably some of the most fun. The whole record, I tried to write parts that I didn't know how to play yet and then learn how to play it. Just like stuff that was a little outside of my comfort zone. Just to kind of like push myself in that writing aspect. I always when it comes to writing and recording, I like follow the keep it simple, stupid kind of formula. Because it's better. I think it's just better to be more solid on a record than to like have to try to like go back and fix things 100 times, And I think it's like a little bit like you can still throw some flares in there and like throw some sick stuff, but I think if you are just more solid and consistent, I think that shows up a lot more as far as the overall feel of the record. And then live, then that's where you really set the fireworks off, because I think that's a better stage for that than on recording. But I liked the whole writing and recording process for 1,000 Mile Stare so much. I think it was a fun time. We like when I recorded drums, it was like a sleepaway camp. I slept there for like the whole weekend. I think we set up the kit and got sounds on a Thursday night, and then I slept there until Sunday. And it was just hanging out with your friends playing music all day. It's like the best. I love recording.
It's just like no big deal. It's not like you make everything that's great right now. We'll just hang out. No big deal.
Yeah. That's what it was. It was so hot because it was like the beginning of August, and there wasn't enough air conditioners to cool that place off. So we're like in like bathing suits, just like working out songs for like 10-12 hours a day. Just like it just puddles of sweat everywhere. It was unbelievable, but it was. I think it turned out a really good product.
Yeah, sweet. Is there? You probably just answered this, but is there a track that you wish would end up on the set list that never does live?
Probably that last song. It's a little epic to play live, so I understand why we don't play it live, just because it's like there's a lot going on in that song. I think it's more of like a listen to song than a play it live song. I'd like to play it live one day. I'd also like to bring back Sabotage to play that live one day. I think we haven't played that in like 8 years, something like that. I think the last time we played it was at Anchors up in Haverhill, RIP. Yeah, it's been a while since we played that. I think that'd be a fun one to play again live. Okay.
Do you guys now you mentioned the whole like keep it stupid simple, keep it simple stupid. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that. Now as far as like intros to a song that just literally, I'm not a violent guy by any means, but I could beat the shit out of anybody in a room. When Survival starts,
mm-hmm.
it's nothing even crazy. It's just a simple like kick snare, and I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah, yeah. I think when we were writing that one, we had gone through a couple of different versions, and it's funny. I was just going through my desktop computer, and I found a lot of old videos from when we were writing those, like the splits. Back then, just like because I record I'm like the audio visual guy for the band, so if there's like video or pictures from stuff that we do that like is from our side, it's probably stuff that I've recorded. So I used to record like every practice that we did and just like review it, and that was like part of the writing thing that we do. So there was a couple of different versions, and then I remember Audley, our guitar player, was just like, "What if you just did like a bat, like that?" And you just like, kind of mounted. I was like, "Oh, that would be fun." And then we just tried it, and it was just like, "Okay, that works." Because sometimes for like an intro to a song, you just need that like something that people are going to remember.
Yeah, quick.
Yeah, exactly. Just like something to let people know, like this is the song that's going to happen. It's kind of like a fingerprint for the song. So like if you could write something like that and the rest of the song, winds up being good, then that's going to be a really strong part of your set, because it's going to be like here. And then my favorite thing is when Brendan goes, "DL, kick it," because I'm just like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. That is so sweet too. I know. I love that. That's like an old school, like kind of like a hip hop move. I've seen a couple of your videos where like he goes and he shouts that out, and I'm just like, motherfucker, dude. That's sweet. So
yeah, it's like having your own hype man, and then you're the star of the show.
Yeah. Now this one's a little some people kind of get on the edge about wanting to answer or talk about it, but if you don't want to, it's cool. But what do you prefer? Crowd wise, what do you prefer as far as like are you more into like the stage dives and high fives and sing-alongs type vibe, or are you a guy that looks out and you want to see like the tough crowd killing ass beating?
I would say a good mixture of both. I think both are good aspects of a good crowd. The crowd killing is cool up until a point. Like if you're like a 400-pound 6'8" dude and you're doing spin kicks in the back of the room, get the fuck out of here. You're a piece of shit. Like that's not where it is. You mosh up front. If you're going to be a coward and mosh on some like 98-pound 16-year-old kid who's not asking for it, you can fucking take a hike. But yeah, no, like you want to see that chaos. You want to see, like a Braveheart scene basically in front of you as you're playing, like, yeah, I mean, aside from people telling me that they listen to my band at the gym, seeing people like want to kill each other while we play is probably the next greatest compliment that I could receive as a musician. And yeah, I like the last, the shows that we did in California last year, ending with that LA show at 1720. Like as far as crowd goes, that was probably one of the sickest crowds we've had outside of New York or ever. Period. It was like all stage dives. It was like a decent like swath of people up front. So there was like a lot of pylons and stage dives and crowd surfing and stuff like that. It was such a killer vibe.
Right. And like with, I guess, from what I see, the thing that's always been with crowd killing in particular is I feel like it always winds up being like the smallest girl that's out there or the smallest kid that just gets demolished like every time. And then you have to put up the house lights, and then cats like I don't know if it's just a thing that I mean it's pretty prevalent, like I guess in like mission shows. And it's not to say that like I absolutely hate it by any means, like it's fun, gives an aspect to the atmosphere in general. You have to know what you're up for going to a show, but
right.
Countless times where it like winds up just like the smallest kid that's out there, and it's like
gets pulled out on the stretcher. Yeah, and I think that's just comes from people just like thinking they know what they're doing versus like actually knowing what they're doing. Because like I mean for me anyway, and this might be showing my age here, but like the intent for moshing or hardcore dancing should just be like self-expression and getting what you have out. And then, like, anytime you hit someone, it should be mostly an accident because everyone's just flailing in that space at the same time. The minute where you're intentionally, like, trying to do harm, it's like the Hippocratic Oath, like, do no harm. Like, I think when you start initially trying to harm people who don't want to be harmed, who are, like, trying to avoid that harm space, I think that's when it crosses over into, like, jackassery, and you could, like I said, take a fucking hike.
Yeah, okay. Now, if you can say, let's say, okay, so like my kind of angle with having on like the hardcore community, you know, the cats, the drummers and whatnot, is like primarily my following is horror, you know, horror fans and kind of people alike myself.
Yeah.
But also, you know, being a drummer in a band and loving hardcore, I constantly posting about different bands. You know, it's one of those things as far as what would you recommend for a first-time listener of Incendiary? You know, if you told somebody you had a band, you're like, oh man, check out this song. What would be the first song you'd tell?
I would probably say Survival. I mean, not to just throw it back that, but I think that's a good starting point. I think because Crusade, like we recorded super early on, and the recording is a little like it's not like the best performance, but I think Crusade still kind of like holds up. But I think it might be like a rough listen to someone who's maybe just getting into hardcore or just getting into us. I would say probably start with the Splits. And then specifically the song Survival. I think that's a good, like, as far as like recording quality, performance, and just like understanding the vibe of the band, I would say probably start there.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. You know, I was just asking this question I was thinking about too, as far as you brought up Braveheart, and I feel like Zeitgeist, somebody should make like a meme where it's epic battle, and like that song is so epic. Was it a long process as far as writing that to make it just like this song is going to be just epic and ass beater, and you're going to be sore when it's done?
Yeah, I think with that one, it was like, oh, okay, we're going to write something with a little bit of a longer of an intro, something that like builds into something else. And I think what had happened was we had the whole rest of the song pretty much done. That like the whole back end of that song, and then it was just like, all right, so what's going to be the intro? And we kind of knew we wanted it to be the opener to the record. So if we had a little bit longer of an intro, it wouldn't be so awkward. Because if you have like a long intro on a song that's like mid-record, I think it kind of like you lose the momentum, you lose a lot of steam. So we were just like, okay, let's write something that we're going to start off the record with, and it's got to be like it's got to be something, you know. And it was just like one of those things where it's like, let's try it this way. Oh, okay. And then it was like, let's try this. Oh, okay. And we just we just kept feeling it, and then just the whole writing process for most of the stuff that we've done. I really enjoy writing and recording mostly.
Okay, right. Yeah. I mean, that's just one of those tracks where it's like it's amazing as an intro track, and it's awesome for the first song to see live, but I feel like 3/4 of that crowd is probably fucking sore by the time it's done, because it's like, I didn't even want to do what I just did, and I just fucking cartwheeled off the goddamn stage. I hit 3 people. I had to hug them and buy them a drink. Like, Jesus H.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I am having like such a great time, dude. I really appreciate you being on.
Of course.
I'm gonna have to get you back on, because I try to keep these primarily around like 20 minutes or so, and we're at like about 40.
Oh, okay.
So for one last question, give me your favorite show that you've ever played live, whether it be Incendiary, previous bands, like just the lineup was awesome, the crowd. Give me your favorite show ever.
My favorite show ever, Blood Axe Fest in Japan. I think that was probably just about 2 years ago, 2018. I think we were there. That was probably one of the tightest shows we've ever played as a band, as far as like performance wise, because I have a problem, and you might know this too, where my tempos get away from me every once in a while, just because I get so excited. I wind up playing everything way fast. We had played a couple of shows leading up to that, so I think it was like a good like kind of like get your tempos in check practice leading up to it. The crowd was unbelievable. It was our first time in Japan, playing on this huge stage, and the funny thing was that they were showing the Long Island Hardcore documentary in between bands, which was just like, oh my god. No, it wasn't Long Island. It was the Hellfest 2001 DVD. That's what they were playing in between. It was just the whole feeling of it was just like so surreal, and that's probably my favorite show that we've played, like all around, you know, like performance wise, crowd wise, environment wise, and just feeling wise. The whole thing was just amazing.
That rules. That's awesome. Well, dude, I'm gonna have to cut this. Danny, I so appreciate you being on.
Of course.
support with all this. Thank you really for being on. I appreciate the conversation. And I hope that I can keep in contact and we can go back and forth on some drum shit and we can do this again, dude.
Oh, I'd love to talk again. Yeah, man. I actually wore a Strangers t-shirt thinking we were going to talk about horror, but we could do that next time. I have a couple other horror shirts.
I wrote a couple of things down, and I was just like, because I was talking to my wife, and she's like, are you going to ask him anything horror? Like, it's a horror show. And I'm like, dude, I have so many fucking drum questions. I don't understand. I have loved this band for years. Like,
oh, thank you, man.
I have so much stuff I have to ask them, like, drum-wise. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to that.
Yeah, I'd love to come back on. So anytime you want to have me on, I'd love to hang out.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much.
Of course, of course.
Danny from Incendiary, check out their band. Their latest album was 1,000 Mile Stare. Go and check that out anywhere. Danny, do you have anything that you wanna let them know you have going on right now?
Well, right now we're all staying home a lot, so help flatten the curve, and stay safe out there. And I think I have a bunch of older shows that I didn't get around to editing, so I'm probably going to throw those up in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. I'll probably post about it when I throw some stuff up.
What's your channel on YouTube?
It's YouTube/Killer's Remorse or YouTube/Incendiary HC. Both are good, and you'll find it. Or no, Incendiary NYHC. That's what it is.
Okay, awesome. All right, sweet. All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You take care. Stay safe, buddy.
You too. Take it easy.
All right, see ya.